Welcome to another episode of the program Issues of the Moment on Television Nigeria. My name is Tem Ekpan. Of course, as I usually say, at every point in time, there's always an issue that will come up for discussion. And being a pre-election year, so many things are on the drawing board because plans are underway to make sure that come 2019, we usher in a better and more responsible leadership in Nigeria that will make sure we have a better country for ourselves. Now, today on the program, I shall be speaking with the convener of the initiative for a better and brighter Nigeria. Now, the idea behind the initiative is to ensure the rebirth of a nation. Of course, you know that one of the reasons people come up with ideas and ideals and programs to better Nigeria is because we want to have a better country. And one of the ways of doing that is via election. And of course, next year is going to be election that will change the political landscape of Nigeria. So how are we prepared to ensure that we have a better Nigeria? Well, to do this and take me on this discussion, I have the convener of the initiative for a better and brighter Nigeria in the person of Prophet Isa El BUBA. My pleasure to welcome you to the program, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay, so what inspired you to come up with this initiative for a better and brighter Nigeria? Of course, when you talk about rebirth, it means that, for instance, like the faith you represent, the Christian faith, when you talk about being born again, like a rebirth, it means something was wrong with the status quo before telling someone to get born again. In Nigeria, do you think that something is wrong with the status quo right now that would need a rebirth of a nation?
Well, first of all, the purpose of the initiative is to be able to, first of all, bring to the attention of every Nigerian of the state of where they are and the state of what they can be. Because if you want to get somebody to be able to get himself right, is to be able to state clearly the right picture of what the person is and what is expected of the person. And so when you look at the state of the Nigerian nation, you look at the past, you look at the present, you look at the future. If it is not captured now, then there will be no guarantee for tomorrow. So the initiative is not just one of those initiative or movement that comes up just trying to get the attention of people, but then this is a force and a movement that is pulling the minds of everybody to understanding that they can have a brighter future, they can have a better country, a better Nigeria, and they're not a Nigerian that they will be thinking about the next 20 years. But now, within this particular dispensation, they can actually make a change by themselves. And this is one of the reasons why the initiative was born.
So would you say the setup of the Nigerian nation right now is what you envisage, is what probably God told you about?
Basically, the state of the nation right now, it's not actually what God told me. The nation where it is totally away from what God revealed to me. Nigeria is not the Nigeria that I saw in the vision. The Nigeria I saw is a Nigeria where there will be justice for all. It's a Nigeria where there's going to be equity. It doesn't matter your tribe, it doesn't matter your background, but you realize that you can actually belong to any bloc from any tribe, and yet you can flourish in the country. In Nigeria, where there is safety for all, you can actually travel overnight without the fear that you're going to be waylaid on the road. In Nigeria, where you can actually go to school and know very well that you're coming out to graduate from that school. And also in Nigeria, where you know that you don't have the mental capacity to be able to retain the simple things you learn in school. At the same time, you can flourish by going into technical colleges where you don't need to know how to read. You can actually be trained based on your skill, and yet you can flourish. In Nigeria, where there's credibility, in Nigeria, where you have leaders with the mental capacity and the ability to be able to look into the Nigerian state and birth a vision. In Nigeria, where leaders are not just going to be empiric, but leaders are going to be servant to the people in terms of the people who brought them on board to say, hey, we entrust this into your hands, guide us and lead us. A Nigeria where leaders are accountable to the people. A Nigeria where people don't need to steal anything to be able to amass wealth just to themselves, but a Nigeria where every Nigerian has a future. You can earn 5,000 and yet you can live very well. You can earn 100,000 yet you can live very well. Reason is because of what God has blessed this country with. That you can actually you don't need to have so much to be able to enjoy the glory of what God has planted in this country. Nigeria is one of the blessed nations that I've seen in all my travels around the world. In Nigeria, where you and I will be able to stand tall and move with our green passport, with our shoulder high, not thinking in any way of migrating to America. I've said this to Americans, and the Nigerians will come to a point where they're not moving to America because they want a better job, but they're actually going to America just to have a holiday, to be able to contribute their quota in building nations. But Nigeria is a nation that they have more than enough. That's the type of Nigeria. A Nigeria where you will see from the north to the south to the west, and to the east, that the Nigerian treasure is given back to the Nigerian people. That I don't have to actually struggle for the future of my descendants. I can just contribute into the funds of national asset, and that is enough to be able to sustain my great-grandchildren. They can actually benefit from the fruits of my present labor. That's the kind of a Nigeria. A Nigeria where a man is retiring from work and he doesn't have to bother his head about how he's going to live for the future. But a Nigeria where his investments and his pain of today will be able to birth his safety, stability, and security for tomorrow. That's the type of Nigeria.
So where did we get it wrong? Because if you look at the first national anthem we had, it's more like a prayer. Oh God of creation, direct our noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know. So if you look at that kind of anthem for a nation, it's more like a nation rooted in God, where people will live together in peace and in unity. So where did we get it all wrong?
We got it wrong when we, the Nigerian people, began to vote into power the wrong people. You will always have what you give out. It is what we gave out. We were the one that empowered these evil, wicked politicians that are daft upstairs to come on board because of sentiments. So if we want to get things right, it's still within our power to be able to get things right. If you look at through the Nigerian history, I've always said, growing up in my own days, the Nigeria I met was a Nigeria when you were going to school. The government provided everything. I will never forget transport money. We had bursary funds where money are given to you for coming to school. And going back home, the government provides. The government gives you uniforms. The government gives you clothes that you're going to use for your extra time and leisure time. The government provides you pocket money. This was the Nigeria I saw. It's not the present Nigeria that I'm saying. So we got it wrong when we, the Nigerian people, were given a privilege by God to be able to appoint and elect the right men and women after the military had done their own damages. But we chose the wrong people to lead us, and that is where we are. And so this time around we're saying that we, the Nigerian people, we have the power to be able to decide who governs us.
This particular stand of yours has made you to have some kind of ruffled shoulders with the powers that be, politically in government and other ways. I remember you granting an interview where you said you've survived 9 assassinations. You've had some security agencies come after you because of your stand in terms of the leadership of the country. It doesn't look like you've changed your position, have you?
I can't change my position. Because one thing you should know, dreams don't die, but the dreamer can die. And the truth will always outlive lies. That's why truth is forever, lie is but for a moment. I don't live for myself, I live for people. If I'm living for myself, then I will change my position. But I'm not living for myself. I'm tough on my position, even on my children. because I want to see a secure future. Nobody lives around me and I tolerate an indisciplined life. If I want to tolerate that, I would just allow it, because I'm just living for myself. So let everything just be to my comfort. Let everything just be to my security. But I am living for the people. The greatest thing anybody can do is to give. The best way to live is by giving. And he that wants to secure his life will lose it. And he that is willing to lose his life on the right cause will gain it. That's God's stand. And so as a people in a country, I have come to a stage where there's absolutely nothing in this life that really matters to me than to see the tears of the ordinary, innocent citizen is wiped away. My dream and desire is to be able to see that no woman who takes a big tray and heavy loads of yam on her head, running on the street trying to sell that to be able to help 10 children at home. I want to see a nation where we're so blessed that if we can just do things properly, that everyone in this country will be able to live as God created and made them. And that's why I am ready to fight to the end. So it's not just about me, it's about the ordinary people. And that I see many have not had good leadership in their lives. They've not had good parenting in their lives. So God Almighty gives every generation a real privilege by raising up leaders and voices that will be able to sound the alarm. And when they hear that voice, there is a regathering of their soul to be able to recapture their own destiny. And that is why, in the midst of all the assassination, the threats, the letters written by the different organizations that are coming after me, I am not intimidated and afraid of it. Because I know that I just got one life. And I have lived a life where I've invested my principles and values into my own descendants. And so even if I'm not today on the scene, my children will continue from where I start.
Is there something you're doing that is not right per se, or something that is counter the establishment that will make you become a target of agencies and people not just trying to invite you for questioning or trying to take out your life? Is there something you're doing that is not the ordinary or is counter?
Well, the question I would like to ask you, what did Jesus do? Jesus committed what crime? And Jesus was crucified because he came to redeem a people. You tell me, Martin Luther King, what crime did he commit? He was taking up the scene because he was the figure of liberation. He was the figure of raising a people's mind to know who they are and what God has made them and created them to be. My life is on the threat, not because I have committed any crime, just because certain evil, wicked people who have always enjoyed whatever thing they talk about in life in terms of money, power, and all of that, on the ignorance of the people. And now the veil is off the eyes of the people. And there is such national response from all over the world and within Nigeria. And so because of that, hey, if we don't get this man out of the way, the people will come out of slavery. That's what I'm looking for the people to come out of slavery. And then for people to live decent lives. When a man or woman is coming out of college, you should be able to know that coming out of college, you got something you're going to be doing. And we, the Nigerian people, we got a big work to be able to do as a people to redeem our own country from enslavement.
Yeah, talking about enslavement and slavery, one of the things people have come to see that we are slaves to is political slavery, where we have left the option of who becomes who to the elite or some select kind of people who have been there. Like you did talk about earlier on, you mentioned the military having done damages in the past, and we still have military people today in civilian clothing, like President Obasanjo was a general, the present president was a general. Would you say that that is one of the reasons why we are still where we are as a nation, having entrusted part of these people who were there, and up to this hour, they're still there? And of course, it is just now we're having this, awakening of saying not too young to rule and all of that, and the bill has been signed into law. Does that make any difference?
It's actually not it. I've seen the not to run something. I can cite certain governors in this country that are young people in their late 30s into their early 40s, and they are just making blunders. It's actually not.
So the age factor doesn't
the issue is not even these people were military before. They were military guys. Some of the military guys did extremely very well. Very, very well. They did extremely very well. You're having intelligent, disciplined young minds that man the leadership of this country. Nigeria was highly respected because these military guys were able to bring certain sort of stability. Obasanjo did well. The only thing is he had his own little, issues, but he did very well. I mean, the man had the mental capacity for an economic recovery, and he was able to set Nigeria free from the years of indebtedness. I mean, he has done well. He has done well to be able to bring today what every one of us is not struggling with, which is the telecommunication system, and he's been able to, he's done well. The only thing is he had his own little issues. I suppose that from that moment, when Yar'Adua came on board, Yar'Adua was able to build from that. He did extremely well. If we had continued on that train, I can tell you that Nigeria would have been a different country by now. And then if you look at it when Jonathan came on board, even it's not just because of the few people that actually, amassed wealth to themselves, which I confronted Jonathan on. And I told him he must deal with these individuals and root them out of his system. But the fact is that the economy was growing. Nigeria was topping up in terms of one of the most strongest economy in the world, and the strongest in Africa. And a lot of investors were trooping into this country. You need to get on board most of the planes that were flying in from Britain, America. You will see the plane is packed full with white guys coming to invest in Nigeria. Nigerians in diaspora were coming in here to invest. Structures were coming up. Infrastructures were coming up. I mean, he is one person that was able to take up the issue of the Almajiri, and then for the first time, that's good thinking. He was able to build the Almajiri school, and he was able to begin to think about resettling, the Almajiris and all of that. That is a major plague in the far north. And so you had a leadership that had the good thinking and the blueprint. And then suddenly we, the Nigerian people, are the ones who brought ourselves into where we are today. So we've had good leaders, and then at the same time we've had bad leaders. What Nigerians have not been able to separate is between people that are sound, people who have the mental capacity. You see, leadership is not grammar. Leadership is not reading speech on the paper and you're looking, like the usual military thing. No, leadership is the ability to drive. Leadership is the ability to get into the midst of a discouraged, indebted, despised people, and then raise their potential to be able to conquer the world around them. That's leadership. Leadership is the ability to be able to say, this is where we're going to be tomorrow, and this is where we're going to be next tomorrow, and this is where we're going to be next week, and the leader works at it. Leadership is the ability to be able to leave your high tower and come down to the ground and be able to lead the troop to the battlefield to recover your land. That's leadership. And that's what is missing now in where we are. And so what we're saying, it doesn't matter the race, the tribe, the language, the religion, and what age. The key thing is we want a people, a group of a team of people that have the capacity to be able to drive this country. I tell you this, that I have an answer that I can give to this electricity issue. It's not an issue. In Nigeria has all it takes. I can tell you about the road networking in this country, how that is going to be solved. I can tell you how we can raise the Nigerian people from the bottom of the pyramid to the meat of the pyramid. It's there. It's just the proper application of wisdom that God gives. It's not something that just comes by reading certain economic books and this. Sometimes I listen to them on television and you can just see the mess. I mean, just speaking jargons without giving a clear direction on how this country can drive itself and get to its destination.
As we look forward to 2019, this is where most of the wisdom you have will be needed by the young people. You have a large followership as a person, because of, you know, your calling. What are you doing at the level of your initiative and beyond that in order to ensure that this is passed across to the different segments of the society to ensure that we enthrone better leadership come 2019, which is very critical to the development of the nation?
Well, by the grace of God, we are up, and we're by the grace of God running from nation to, city to city, state to state, and have been able to mobilize, by God's grace, leaders to begin to think towards one point. And the main thing is the ability to be able to synergize, you know, the different networks, the different initiatives, the different coalitions. Let's all be able to come on board, sit down on the round table, and be able to discuss the Nigerian matter. It's not about an individual. It's not about an individual. At this point in time, it's not just about this government going, but the fact is that you can't just take a government out and you don't have something concrete to be able to redeem this country. So 2019, we're mobilizing the Nigerian people to make sure that everybody, gets his PVC. That is one major thing. Number two, on how we can protect our votes. We have a responsibility as a people, not the police, not the military, but we, the Nigerian people. Remember, pen and paper is stronger than the strongest weapon. So PVC is stronger than the strongest weapon you can have to deal with. It doesn't matter how much money an individual has. The PVC of the Nigerian people is more stronger than all the billions they can put together to rig any election. So, number three, we are saying to the Nigerian people, don't allow anybody buy you. Don't allow anybody buy your conscience, because the 100,000 or 200,000 they will give to you is not enough to be able to secure your future and your descendants. So you better stand to protect your vote by yourself so that you can have the right leadership. That we trust God that in 2 years, Nigeria will be able to fix on the right path to development, and it will come out as one of the strongest economies in the world.
In 2 years, as we round up, like you say, Nigeria in 2 years will be able to fix a lot of stuff. In 2 years of the continuity of this particular government, in 2 years of change somewhere, because I've listened to, I watched some of your videos where you particularly mentioned the president, and if you do not repent or do you see a continuity? Because once in a while God reveals to you, of this leadership, or we need a change.
Well, I don't, from what God has revealed to me as a person, is to get the government to do what is right, okay? But the fact is that if the government doesn't do what is right, the government will be shown the way out.
What is right?
And the right thing is to be able to bring about justice. The killing that is going on shows an irresponsible leadership. And that is it. What is needed at this point is for this government to enforce. I can't imagine the Minister of Defense coming out to speak nonsense. In any way, he has no right, because every state is autonomous. Every state has its own law, and they have the right to be able to enact their law to safeguard the citizen of that particular community.
But answerable to the federal government. That's in a unitary government. This is
it's a federal government. It's a federating system. And as a federating system, you have the right as a state. That's why you have the State House of Assembly. Do you have the State House of Assembly to enact their law for the good of the people within that particular state? That's why it's called federating state.
But they tend to tell you that some of those items are in the exclusive list that need approval from the presidency. Like the state police has been an issue. The presidency has to endorse because it's on the exclusive list.
It's on the exclusive list, but it is not on exclusive list. The man that is meant to be the governor of a state is called the chief security officer of the state. What are you a chief security officer for? You are to make sure that the oath of office you took is to see that your people are protected, the land is preserved, the people flourish, the land prospers. And so there's nothing like that. What the Minister of Defense said was against the whole process of trying to build this country for us to be able to fight this evil. These are the people that the president said, our president said, that foreigners have invaded the country. These are the people that the president said they are part of the remnants of Gaddafi that came in here. These are the people that the president, he himself said these things out. So if these people are foreigners that have invaded this country, these are fallout from the Gaddafi thing that have come to destroy us, then why are you shielding them? Why would you not declare them as a terrorist group so that the military can take up on them? And then it is the ordinary people that are trying to protect themselves that will be arrested and taken. It's just like the 5 young boys that were taken in and the judge passed a judgment for them to be killed, you know, for protecting themselves. That's wrong. What we're talking about is this country, the right leadership must give security to all, must protect all, and must make sure that there is justice for all. Any government that cannot protect its people is an irresponsible government.
For want of time, we'll have to leave it here. I do hope that you will find time for us to, you know, extend this conversation to another dimension. Once again, I'd like to say thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Keep flying. Keep watching Nigerians. This is your time to be able to decide the right thing for the recovery of this country. Nobody's going to do it for you, but all together we can pull our hands together to see to the rebirth of a new Nigeria. Nigeria will be great again. Thank you.
Thank you very much once again.
It's a pleasure.
And that has been the convener of the Initiative for a Better and Brighter Nigeria, talking about Prophet Isa El BUBA. That's the much we will take on the program Issues of the Moment for today. My name is Ntem Ekpang. Until I come your way again, do enjoy the rest of our programs. And don't forget, this is Television Nigerian. Bye-bye.